everything we've been told about the Great Pyramid of Giza is fundamentally wrong. For over a century, the mainstream narrative has been that this structure is a tomb, a silent pile of rocks built to house a pharaoh. But if you look at it through the lens of a modern engineer, that story doesn't just feel incomplete, it feels impossible. Today we're going to look at the Great Pyramid not as a monument, but as a machine. We're diving into the Giza power plant theory, pioneered by Christopher Dunn. We aren't looking at aliens or magic. We're looking at mechanical engineering, acoustics, and materials science that was thousands of years ahead of its time. To understand this theory, we have to start with the man who changed the conversation, Christopher Dunn.
And it was really, that was where I began, and studying the Peter Tompkins book, Secret of the Great Pyramids. And it was with that evidence, and I was working, strictly from my left brain, looking at the evidence within the Great Pyramid to determine just exactly what was going on. And the key that got me going, as far as what may have been going on, was what Stephen was referring to earlier, and that was the notes by Petrie when he noted that the King's Chamber had expanded over an inch and the ceiling beams were cracked and there was vitrification of the stone. And then, of course, more evidence followed that. But basically, I set myself a challenge, and it was that all evidence has to be explained. It has to find a logical purpose within the framework of the Giza power plant hypothesis. And if there was any evidence that showed up later, it either had to support the hypothesis, or then the hypothesis would have to be revised or even thrown out. That's the scientific method. You have to follow the evidence, and that's what I did. So what we have with the Great Pyramid is what they call a coupled oscillator. And a coupled oscillator is a device that is attached to a larger vibrating body, but it's tuned to a harmonic or the same frequency as the larger vibrating body. And once the oscillator is set into motion, then it will continue to draw energy from the larger vibrating body as long as that larger vibrating body continues to vibrate. So that was basically the fundamental hypothesis of how these Pernettas functioned. They functioned as coupled oscillators, and they still do. And there's still sites in Egypt that respond to the earth energies. You can hear it. You can hear it at Saqqara. Stephen had that one slide up of the temple at Saqqara where you just put your head inside the niche and you can hear that deep rumble, And I think David's mentioned something about it being from the buses in the parking lot, but I don't. I rejected that idea because I went out there one time in a taxi and I still heard it.
He is an aerospace engineer and a master machinist. When he went to Giza, he brought precision, straight edges, squares, and micrometers. Archaeologists look at the what, but engineers look at the how. Dunn found tolerances of 0.0002 inches. That is machine shop precision. He noted that the internal corners of the granite coffer in the King's Chamber have a radius suggesting high-speed mechanical milling. These weren't artisans. They were technicians working to a blueprint that demanded extreme mechanical accuracy.
Okay, in the Great Pyramid, these were the anomaly. This is what everything inside here had to be explained. The descending passage, ascending passage, these are 42 inches square. From the entrance down to the bedrock, you have a passageway that's straight within 20 thousandths of an inch. That's the thickness of a thumbnail. That is very, very precise for something like that.
If you're building a tomb, why do you need that level of precision? You don't. But if you're building a machine that relies on resonance, precision is everything. The Great Pyramid is essentially a giant musical instrument. Christopher Dunn's theory hinges on coupled oscillation. The Earth has a constant seismic pulse. The pyramid was built to be tuned to that frequency. Dunn discovered that when you strike the granite coffer in the King's Chamber, it rings like a bell at a frequency corresponding to F sharp. It's not just the coffer either. The entire King's Chamber is designed to resonate at an F sharp chord. Why F sharp? Because Dunn suggests this frequency is a harmonic of the Earth's own resonant frequency. By tuning the structure to F sharp, the builders were essentially plugging in the pyramid to the planet's energy. The chamber is made of Aswan granite, which is 55% quartz. Quartz is piezoelectric. If you vibrate it, it generates electricity. When the pyramid vibrates at that F-sharp frequency, the granite pumps out a massive electrical charge. Above the King's Chamber are 5 layers of massive granite beams. Egyptologists call them relieving chambers, but they are an engineering overdesign for weight support. Dunn identifies these as tuned resonators. Each layer of beams is separated by an airspace, and they were designed to vibrate freely. Each layer could be calibrated to a specific harmonic, amplifying the Earth's seismic energy and concentrating it into the King's Chamber. It's a feedback loop that amplifies the vibration until the entire chamber is a high-pressure environment of acoustic energy, driving the piezoelectric output of the quartz walls. A generator needs a medium to carry energy. This is where the Queen's Chamber comes in. In the 1990s, the robot Upayat 2 discovered Cantembrix doors at the end of the Queen's Chamber shafts. I apologize if I mispronounced either one of those. These doors feature 2 copper pins, which Dunn identifies as electrodes or sensors. He proposes that these shafts delivered chemicals, diluted hydrochloric acid down one, and hydrated zinc chloride solution down the other. When they combined in the Queen's Chamber, they produced boiling hydrogen gas. The heavy salt incrustation found on the walls is a documented byproduct of this reaction. Hydrogen is the ultimate medium for energy transfer. This gas would rise, filling the Grand Gallery and moving toward the King's Chamber. As the hydrogen moved through the Grand Gallery, it passed 27 pairs of slots. Dunn suggested these held acoustic resonator plates, Helmholtz resonators. As the acoustic energy from the vibrating King's Chamber, that F-sharp resonance, echoed through the gallery, these resonators would pump the hydrogen atoms to a higher energy state. This is stimulated emission. The pyramid became a giant maser, or microwave amplification by stimulated emission of radiation, converting Earth's vibration into a concentrated microwave beam. Now I'm going to play this sound for you so you can get an understanding of what it really sounds like. See, I can't listen to that. I listened to it when I recorded it, and it gave me a very unsettling feeling. It was disturbing. I can't explain it, but that's what it did to me.
That what we have is a source of energy, which is the Earth, coming through the Great Pyramid. We have the hydrogen generation here. We have energy collected here. We have a resonator hall that collects the energy. That energy is directed into this chamber. The energy of that chamber is raised to a much higher level. It affects the hydrogen in that chamber. The hydrogen is pumped to a higher energy state. And then what we have is an input signal coming in. Oops, wrong one. An input signal coming in, collected from the universe. That's the source of your signal, coming in through this shaft into the chamber, and then something happens there. But a stimulated emission is a term that is used in a maser or laser. So you have microwave amplification through stimulated emission radiation. That's the acronym. Laser is light amplification through stimulated emission radiation. And then the stimulated emission part is where you have a photon which is emitted after an electron is forced down to its ground state. It releases a little packet of energy. That little packet of energy moves in a particular direction. When we are channeling those earth energies through the pyramids, we need a little more energy to drive these granite beams to resonance than what we can achieve just in this small area. So in the Grand Gallery, we house a bank of resonators. And those resonators take those earth energies and convert those vibrations to airborne sound. And then that sound is focused through this opening and reverberates or drives this complex into a vibrating mass of energy. This complex right here is totally freestanding within the Great Pyramid. The walls are freestanding from the core masonry. There's a gap on the outside of these walls. They're freestanding. The floor is freestanding. But the floor is freestanding. It's inserted inside the walls so that the walls are not pressing down. Those ancient engineers and scientists, they didn't want any damp spots. They didn't want any dampening. So the walls actually go down on the outside of the floor about 5 inches.
The final piece is the missing capstone. Ancient records say it was made of electrum, a gold and silver alloy. Gold is a perfect conductor, acted as the antenna. From there, the concentrated microwave energy was transmitted wirelessly, similar to Nikola Tesla's later Wardenclyffe Tower experiments. It was a global wireless energy grid. If this was a power plant, why did it stop? Machines fail. The King's Chamber walls are pushed out by an inch, and the ceiling beams are cracked. This suggests an internal explosion, a hydrogen flare-up, or a massive pressure surge. The plant went into meltdown. The chemicals were drained, and the knowledge was lost, eventually replaced by the myths of tombs and pharaohs. The King's Chamber isn't a room. It's a resonant cavity. Its length, width, and height are perfectly proportional to the wavelength of the Earth's resonance. The surface flatness was maintained to prevent thermal noise energy lost as heat. When you stand in the chamber today and hum at F sharp, you can feel the stones respond. Imagine that amplified by millions of tons of rock, driven by the planet itself. We aren't looking at the dawn of civilization, we're looking at a technological peak we are only now starting to rediscover.
What you see here is southern shaft opening, which has particular significance to the theory, the microwave theory. This is an opening in the south wall, and it's directly opposite an opening in the north wall. It's right here. So this opening here has dimensions of 8.4 by 4.8 inches. Generally, the guidelines for creating a waveguide, the height is about half the width of the length. So
what is a waveguide?
a waveguide carries microwave
And what is that used for today commercially?
communications for the most part.
Like, for example, what?
Oh, just about everything that we get. I mean, you got these microwave towers. Try and pull up a microwave horn antenna on the internet.
Okay.
So you have those. They're all different shapes and sizes, and there is obviously I don't work in the microwave industry.
So where's the waveguide here?
So
Okay.
that's a horn antenna with a waveguide, right? And there are some where you have curvatures on the interior surface. But you see the waveguide itself, the horn, receives a broader signal and then narrows it down to the waveguide and transmits it through a waveguide.
Okay. All right. So that's what we're looking at when we're seeing those little shafts. The dimensions of those are.
If you believe what I'm telling you.
Okay. All right. I believe it, man. I believe you.
So when I saw that, it was like, okay, that looks like a horn antenna, right? And that's in the south wall of the King's Chamber. Directly opposite is a shaft where the width is almost twice the dimension of the height. So you do have that rectangular kind of opening. It's 4.8 high and 8.4 inches.
Okay.
So essentially the width has to be related to the wavelength of the atoms that are used to create the microwave signal. And the wavelength of hydrogen is 21 centimeters, or 8.309 inches. So it's almost 8.4 inches.
Close.
So if you had some kind of a liner in there, maybe gold-plated liner, then you would have
So if these things could have been plated or coated on the surface, it would be a little smaller.
It would be just a little smaller.
So it would be, it's the perfect dimensions for a waveguide for hydrogen.
It's very, very close. Well, I mean, just as it is, it's close.
Okay.
But they could be lined. Now, of course, critics will say, well, there has been nothing found in the archaeological record that would indicate that those things even ever existed, and that's maybe true, except for one plate that was found by Petrie on the south side of the Great Pyramid near the shaft, and that is an iron plate, and on one surface of this iron plate there is signs of gold, that it was gold plated at one time.
Now let's digest that for a second. Microwave is used for communication in just about everything. Satellites, cell phones. We use it for cooking, radar systems, medical treatments. Wireless communications would be almost impossible without it. Microwave are essential for point-to-point communication links, enabling mobile phones, Wi-Fi, and Bluetooth connections. They are used in satellite systems for transmitting signals to and from Earth. Microwaves are utilized in radar systems for detecting objects, measuring speed, and tracking weather patterns. And it goes on and on and on. So they had the ability for global communication just like we have today. They could forecast the weather. They could use radar. They could even communicate with satellites. Think about what that means for a second. 3,500 years ago, we had the ability to produce microwaves and harness it.
So there's two shafts going out of the King's Chamber,
Right.
which is in the upper middle of the pyramid.
Right.
And So yeah, H and J on this diagram.
Right.
These are what we were just looking at, these wave guides.
Right.
And one of them brings something in, and then it goes through the king's chamber, and then the other one shoots it out.
Now, something happens in between. So inside the king's chamber, what you have is it's a resonant chamber. The fascinating features of the king's chamber are that it's constructed of granite, red or pink granite from Aswan.
Is that unique for the other chambers in the pyramid?
Yeah, this is the only chamber in the pyramid that has granite.
Okay.
So the granite was brought from Aswan, which is 500 miles away.
Okay.
From where the pyramid was.
How
built.
much granite is in that chamber?
Oh, thousands of tons.
And it looks like the bottom of the beams are perfectly square on the bottom and edges, and the tops of them are very rough.
Right. And so in the Giza power plant, I proposed that those beams were intentionally made that way, and it wasn't a lack of attention, rather than it was a very specific, focused attention on the beams to make sure that they were tuned to a particular frequency when struck. So you have a situation where the sound input into that chamber, or vibration into that chamber, would resonate, would cause the granite to resonate, and the beams above would resonate also to those frequencies.
Okay.
And the other interesting thing about the King's Chamber assembly is that it is totally separate from the core masonry. You know, in a structure, you would like tie things into the core masonry or the core structure for stability and stuff like that. There is a space all around the King's Chamber, separating it from the limestone blocks that comprise the core chamber.
Really?
Right. So you have that particular feature. Tom Danley, who was an acoustic engineer, he did some acoustic testing in 1997, I believe it was at the time he went over there, and he reported that he was testing, doing a sweep at very, very low frequencies, infrasonic, and the frequencies that he picked up were forming an F-sharp chord. So they were musical in nature.
Why ignore the engineering reality staring us in the face? Because if it isn't a tomb, the entire house of cards comes down. We are forced to admit that someone knew more than we do. The tomb theory is comfortable. It avoids the uncomfortable question of how a primitive society mastered planetary mechanics. It treats the builders like masons, not architects of energy. But then you start to measure the gaps between the blocks. You find they aren't just tight, they're fused. This isn't just stone stacking. This is an industrial project of such magnitude that it defies belief. What if we're looking at a car and calling it a decorative sculpture? We analyze the paint job and ignore the engine block. We ignore the fuel lines because we can't fathom the fuel. The Egyptologists see symbols of the afterlife. I see a machine built to interact with the earth itself. The scale is the first clue, but the design is the smoking gun. You don't build with this level of accuracy for an audience that doesn't exist. You build for a function. You build for output. If this were a tomb, why invest this level of mechanical obsession? A king doesn't need the final resting place to be a masterpiece of acoustic precision, but a machine absolutely does. Every block serves the structural integrity of the resonator. They weren't meant to keep the weight of the pyramid off of a corpse. They were meant to manage the kinetic load of a machine running at full capacity. If you isolate that tectonic frequency, you don't need fuel in the traditional sense. You just need the resonance. It's time we start looking at the evidence without the historical bias. If this was a power plant, what happened when they turned the system off? Or better yet, what happened when they were forced to leave it behind? If Christopher Dunn turns out to be right, then what we're looking at is a completely different scenario than what the history books have taught us all these years. Was it really a power plant? I don't know. It certainly seems like it was. Now, what they used that energy for, we have no idea. We're just seeing the skeletal remains of a civilization, figuratively speaking. It's like 1,000 years from now, somebody digs up New York City, and the only thing they have to go on is the Brooklyn Bridge as far as our technology and how advanced we are. Once again, if what he is saying is true, this breaks down a lot of barriers and causes us to look at things in a new light. The ancient people weren't primitive. They had technology that rivaled ours today. I really appreciate you watching today. I hope you learned something, and if you did, consider joining a membership here on the channel. It does help out and allows me to put out more videos like this. So hit that like, that subscribe, and hopefully we'll see you on the next one.